In this edition of Southern Newsweek, one mayoral contender slaps another with a defamation suit and a local academic says it could go either way. Injuries due to hazardous substances are on the decline. We take a look at what's behind the reduction. And liquor licence issues aren't the only thing affecting the future of Sammy's, as its owner considers selling the venue. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. A defamation expert is weighing in on the legal case being waged against Mayor Dave Cull. The Mayor was recently served with legal papers in relation to an incident between himself and Councillor Lee Vandervis late last year. And it's a case a local academic believes could go either way.
Reviewing the fracas. University of Otago defamation expert Marcelo Rodrigues Ferreira believes the word liar should not be thrown lightly. He's read up on the case and watched the footage of a bust-up at a Dunedin City Council meeting last December, where Councillor Lee Vandervis was asked to leave by Mayor Dave Cull.
Calling someone a liar is a pretty classic case of defamation insofar as it's got the capacity to reduce someone's reputation in the eyes of society or others or the reasonable person. And so if Mr. Cull, Mayor Cull rather, did call Mr. Vandervis a liar, then that would have the capacity to be defamatory.
Although he says the Mayor has many defensive avenues open to him should the case go to court, including the truth or honest opinion.
Absolutely. If Mayor Cull is basing his honest opinion on true facts, if his view is an honestly held one, then the defence of honest opinion would also be available to him.
While admitting he says he's not a political analyst, Rodrigues Ferreira believes there may be some political motivation to the timing of the papers being served. The incident occurred nearly 8 months ago, but the papers were only served just now, as the local body election process begins.
But obviously this is more of a distraction than anything from the local body campaigns. It increases Councillor Vandervis's his standing in the media. It's probably not particularly good for the Mayor, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the claim isn't valid. That doesn't necessarily mean that the claim is invalid either. They've both got a right to bring these proceedings and defend the proceedings respectively.
He says if it goes to trial, it would more than likely be at the High Court, and could be more than a year away, as the judicial system does not move quickly.
But actually, defamation is one of the few situations in which a jury might be called or a finder of fact could be other than a judge. And that really does limit the ability for legal counsel to influence the outcome.
He says there are many ways in which the matter could be settled before it goes to trial. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
Labour leader Andrew Little has visited South Dunedin recently alongside a contingent of MPs and social service agency stakeholders. The group wandered around the areas hardest hit by last year's floods, looking at the handful of houses still empty more than a year on. And Little took the opportunity to offer up his party's plan to fix some of the issues.
A few more suits than usual in South Dunedin. Labour leader Andrew Little is being shown around the parts of the suburb hardest hit by last year's floods. He believes the area would benefit from a proposed housing renewal policy, which he says would be well underway within the first 2 terms, should the party win the next election.
We're looking at, more kind of intensification of housing, more modern sort of housing stock, the semi-detached, the terraced housing, those sorts of style of housing and design.
While acknowledging the area has an issue with a high water table, Mayor Dave Cull is echoing the need for redevelopment.
We don't have all the solutions to that, but what I would say is that what we need to be doing is treating the challenges in South Dunedin as an opportunity. We know that the housing has needed upgrading for a very long time. We know that the urban fabric needed upgrading. So let's take the opportunity when we've got other challenges to look at how we do that and turn a negative into a positive.
Dunedin South MP Claire Curran was among those helping place sandbags on the night of the main June flood. She says now it's about looking at what can be done in the long term.
While Labor's not yet in government, at least we're starting to have that conversation about the fact that this is too big an issue just for local government to deal with. And it's great to have central Parliament and local government walking alongside, looking at the state of the housing.
Presbyterian Support Otago Chief Executive Gillian Bremner says the agency remains inundated with people still affected by fallout from the floods. She's ready to see something tangible done as soon as possible.
People need some certainty in terms of the future, where they live now. They want to know what's going to happen in the next 12 months, what's going to happen in the next 5 years. So I think the opportunity to actually have a bit more of a focused approach to the challenges that South Dunedin actually present, in particular the old housing stock, but also the rising sea level.
The walk around the suburb concluded at Bathgate Park School, which was closed for several days due to last year's floods. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
The number of children being hospitalised with hazardous substance injuries is decreasing. Environment Minister Dr Nick Smith has visited the National Poison Centre in Dunedin to share the latest statistics. And staff say it's a testament to the work they're doing every day.
Delivering good news in person. Minister for the Environment Dr Nick Smith has visited the National Poison Centre to share his latest report into the number of children hospitalised with hazardous substances injuries. They've dropped 40% over the past 8 years, something staff here are pleased about.
He's been made aware that hospitalisations from serious ingestions of chemicals has actually reduced over the last 4 years, which is quite pleasing. Some of that's to do with changes in packaging and labelling, some public awareness, but also too that the work that the National Poison Centre does in reducing the number of people that are being presented to hospital.
The report also shows that the overall number of hospitalisations across all age groups has dropped by more than 100 in that time frame. They're figures that staff at the Poison Centre aren't surprised with, as they say hospitalisations are very preventable.
Of the 35,000 calls that we receive annually here at the Poison Centre, approximately 70% of those can safely be managed at home. So that means you don't always have to rush off to the hospital. Your child's not always going to die from ingesting a poisoning. But it's about having that reassurance and phoning us up and knowing whether your child's going to be okay and what action to take.
Toddlers remain the most vulnerable to poison-related injuries, with rates 3 times that of other age groups. Many injuries occur because cleaning and chemical products are left within reach of young children, and that's where staff here can help.
The National Poison Centre is a service unit within the Department of Preventive and Social Medicine here at the University of Otago. It's a 24-hour toll-free helpline, so if anybody's ingested a toxic substance, either children accidentally or even someone deliberately sometimes, they know that they can call us 24 hours a day, speak to a highly trained poisons expert and get the right advice.
Smith says the next step in the government's program to further reduce harm is a partnership project between Housing New Zealand and the EPA. The program is aimed at ensuring all homes have safe storage for hazardous substances by working with tenants. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
An American tech expert is in the city to teach locals how to make the most of a business development program. The startup scheme has been running for a year after it was implemented following the Gig City win. And those behind the program say it's only going to get better as time goes on.
Utilising gigabit speed. American Will Joseph is in Dunedin representing Co-Starters, a program aimed at inspiring entrepreneurs keen to turn their business ideas into reality. The scheme was brought to Dunedin last year following the Gig City win, and now, a year on, it's being relaunched.
I'm here for kind of the restart of the Co-Starters program here in Dunedin. We're having a kind of a party, a get-together tonight to celebrate that and to really let the community know what's going on.
The Co-Starters scheme is not entirely new in Dunedin, with the initial local cohort having gone through the program early last year.
It's been here for about a year, just kind of testing it to make sure it works, and we found that it does. And it's just like it has kind of across New Zealand and across the United States. And now we're trying to get it in front of everybody and make it available to as many people as possible in the city of Dunedin.
The 9-week program goes through the basics of running a business, regardless of what the idea behind it may be. It's all about supporting local entrepreneurship, and Joseph is looking forward to sharing his knowledge on the subject.
We also want to gather a community around the world to support communities that are trying to do good things and see startups flourish. So I don't consider myself an expert, but I've gotten the privilege of seeing a lot of things happen. And so I want to bring, as best I can, the voice of that community into Dunedin and celebrate together.
Following the relaunch of the program locally, 2 cohorts are being planned in Dunedin, with the first kicking off in September, and Joseph hopes to expand it to the rest of New Zealand soon after. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
The future of one of the city's iconic live music facilities is up in the air. Sammy's entertainment venue has been a mainstay in Dunedin since the 1980s, having hosted the Pogues, Billy Bragg and many other famous acts. But with the premises up for sale, there's concern it may be flattened.
A light that never goes out. Built in the 1800s, the building that houses Sammy's entertainment venue has faced the wrecking ball before. But this time, a concerted effort may be needed to help these walls to reverberate again. The sprawl of upmarket apartments closing in on the venue has proprietor Sam Chin offering advice for those wanting to set up within earshot of the music venue.
It's industrial, so they should be able to put up with the noise. If they want to put apartments, I think they should soundproof. By law, they have to anyway, soundproof their buildings. If they're going to, we're on State Highway 1, so that makes a big difference as well. You know, sometimes the trucks that go past make more noise that comes out of the building.
Chin has literally had his name in lights since the early 1980s, and he says he's not planning to go quietly, if at all.
I have to retire one day. You know, I can't do this for another 38 years, so it's a good place to be. You know, if someone wants to come in and do things with me or without me, it's fine by me, and if someone wants to buy the building, that's even better, and I could help them.
He recently had to bring the venue up to compliance with the current liquor licence legislation, which included increased signage behind the bar.
I've sort of, straight after the last hearing, on Monday, I went straight down to the liquor licensing office and got all the signs, which I've just put up. There's a few signs, there's 6. So I've got six signs in each bar now.
He says having turned 60 recently, coupled with a steep increase in the ground rent and dealing with the Liquor Licensing Authority, has made him want to throw in the towel. But like many in the New Zealand music industry, he finds it hard to imagine a Dunedin without musicians playing on this stage under its proscenium arch. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, local conservationists give the thumbs up to a government proposal that aims to eradicate predators by 2050. And a display at the Settlers Museum blows up, so the hunt is on for a replacement. Welcome back. Conservation projects around the country are in for a boost with the launch of Predator Free New Zealand 2050. This week the government announced an initial $28 million for the program to help protect native species. And it's an initiative that's being welcomed by those already involved in conservation work locally.
The government's newly announced goal to make New Zealand predator free by 2050 is drawing praise from local conservation groups. The initiative will rely on groups and organisations such as Orokonui Eco Sanctuary to work alongside the government to help tackle introduced predators.
It's a very welcome announcement. I think that with a little bit of central government, regional government and local government support, the community is really ready to take on their part and do stuff in their own little patch. And I think it's an ambitious goal, but a realistic one, because I think the community is ready.
As part of the eradication scheme, a newly established government company, Predator Free New Zealand Limited, will sponsor community partnerships around the country. That's set to give conservation groups and pest eradication initiatives the support they require for their programs to be effective. It's work that's already happening locally, thanks to established community partnerships.
Orokonui Eco Sanctuary is working in collaboration with the Landscape Connections Trust to increase predator control around the Orokonui area, from Karatani in the north to the Silver Peaks over here, to the coast and to the city. So quite a large area.
Introduced predators such as rats, stoats and possums kill around 25 million native birds each year. They've been a problem for eco-sanctuary staff in the past, so any additional funding to help eliminate them is welcome.
I think the government can help with funding things like the traps, which are essential, and that's what people can't afford, and the community can provide the labour to do it, so it's a really good potential partnership, and I think it will have a significant impact.
Bailey believes the new national goal will directly benefit Orokonui Eco Sanctuary in both the short and long term, hopefully helping reduce the ever-present pest pressure outside the fence. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
One of the few remaining armed service personnel who served in the Second World War is taking time to reflect on his life. 92-year-old Neville Salwood was a navigator aboard a Lancaster bomber, which was part of several raids in the 1940s. And there's a possibility his efforts may soon be acknowledged by an important visitor to the city.
Memories as clear as if it were yesterday. At 18, Francis Neville Salwood was a navigator on a Lancaster bomber, directing a pilot to targets in Germany as part of the war effort. Mostly the targets were strategic hits on infrastructure. However, it's the raids on Dresden that had a profound effect on Salwood for many years. At the time, German politician Joseph Goebbels said hundreds of thousands of refugees were killed in the raids. However, Salwood says that wasn't the case.
The Americans eventually got hold of all the papers regarding Dresden. After the Cold War with Russia and the Berlin Wall broke down and the Russian outfit all split apart, they got all the original German archives, and we discovered that there were no refugees ever kept in Dresden. It was too busy a place to have mucking around with refugees.
Salwood says official records show around 25,000 people were found dead in their basements after the raids. But at the time, the figure was said to be 250,000. He says for a while he was not able to think about the bombings. But when he retired, it all came flooding back.
I eventually had a breakdown in health after I retired, and all I could see was the flames of Dresden. And I eventually got help through that with some medical care, but it wasn't until I read Frederick Taylor's book that I really finally found proper peace with myself.
Near the end of World War II, Salwood was among those flying happier missions, bringing food and aid to the country of Holland, whose citizens were being starved by the Nazis.
And they just went rapturous, waving all sorts of things and some spelling out, "Thank you." And our plane carried 6,670 pounds worth of food, but that's just random loading. And after that first day we found better ways of loading, and next trip to The Hague we took over 8,000 pounds.
He says while he remains haunted by some of the memories, the thought of dropping food to starving people helps ease it somewhat. Salwood may soon receive recognition for that work, with speculation the Dutch ambassador may visit Dunedin to present a medal to him in the near future. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
Staff at Toitū Otago Settlers Museum are on the hunt for a technological relic from the 1970s. A television set housed within a current exhibition has finally done its dash, leaving a gap that needs to be filled. And while the public is being urged to help find the replacement, it's likely to only be a temporary fix.
Setting the scene. The Slice of Life exhibition at Toitū Otago Settlers Museum showcases the findings of the world-renowned Dunedin study. The display has a series of decade sets with furnishings and technology from the time eras of the study. But one of the key elements is now missing.
The 1970s TV has died, so we need to find a replacement, and we're hoping that someone in Dunedin has that replacement for us.
The 1970s set ran a loop of popular children's shows from the decade, including Spot On, Rainbow and Sesame Street. Toitū staff say the TV is an important part of the exhibition, impacting the entire feel of the set.
Oh look, I think that both the TV and the sound are really important features of each of the rooms. They really help set the scene. It's amazing how that can help take someone back to that time frame.
Staff are finding that having period-accurate technology in the exhibition comes with its own challenges.
The last TV that we had lasted, I think, maybe 4 months. So this exhibition runs for 12 months. I'm hoping we don't have to come back and ask again, but 1970s TVs, I think they were unreliable at the time. They're still proving to be that way.
There is, however, a catch for whoever donates a TV set to the Slice of Life exhibition. As with all the objects on display, it won't be returned. Jack Conroy, 39 Dunedin News.
And just ahead on Southern Newsweek, the classic tale of Jack Frost is about to be told on ice after months of preparation. And Baldwin Street turns into a sea of Jaffas. Welcome back. Months of practice are being put on show at a local stadium for a school holiday production on ice. Dozens of young skaters are taking part in the Dunedin Ice Skating Club's version of Jack Frost. And the Chili Show helped to close out the holidays with cheer.
Preparing to take to an unconventional stage, these young skaters are taking part in a local production of Jack Frost at the Dunedin Ice Stadium. It's been a few months in the planning and the actors say they're keen to show what they've been working on in front of a sizable crowd.
We've been working on this for the last term, so between term 2 and the beginning of this holidays.
It's the second time the Dunedin Ice Skating Club has staged a mid-year show to tie in with the city's Cadbury Chocolate Carnival. Director Grant Howie has been involved both years, but this time around he's very much behind the scenes.
Last year was the first time we did our Cinderella show, and that was the first time that I began to fully direct in the show. I also skate in it. This time I'm not skating, I'm just helping to direct.
He's happy with how the production has come together, with an array of costumes and lighting on display alongside the impressive skating. One of the challenges has been getting enough time on the ice to practice, with a lot of local groups all requiring the rink. But one of the skaters says it's balancing the acting component with skating that's been the most challenging aspect.
I'm definitely not the best at it, but you kind of get the hang of it after a while.
The money raised from the two performances will go back into the running of the local ice skating club, all while providing a cheery, albeit chilly way to end the school holidays. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
And finally, one of the city's most unique events has generated tens of thousands of dollars for charity. The annual Jaffa Race saw around 75,000 of the bright chocolates hurtling down Baldwin Street. And this year, 3 charities will benefit from the colourful candy cascade.
The cameras rolled, and so did the Jaffas. Hordes of Dunedin residents have turned out once again to see the annual Cadbury Chocolate Carnival Jaffa Race. Kids and adults of all ages line the barricaded edges of the world's steepest street, all to see the brightly coloured spheres bounce to the finish line. The races came in waves of red, yellow and green, each representing a different charity. Almost $75,000 was raised for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Surf Lifesaving and the Parent Centre New Zealand. The other big winners on the day were those whose Jaffas came in first in each of the 3 races for a prize worth $2,000. Jack Conroy, 39 Dunedin News.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or you can keep up with Dunedin News via our website, dunedintv.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan, thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.